Hello, 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 and welcome to another episode of the GSMC Podcast Network's Wrestling Laureate Podcast. I'm your man E here with all your outstanding wrestling factoids. But thank you first and foremost for tuning in to the Wrestling Laureate Podcast brought to you by the GSMC Sports Podcasting Network. We have a great show for you today. We have a little bit of NXT review as well as AEW Big Business preview. So make sure you stick around. And also at the end, my last two segments will feature Jim Ross recently in an interview saying that this might and may be his final year as commentary for a wrestling business. So that obviously shakes me up because I love Jim Ross. I thought his voice is very influential. His voice is, I don't know, it's just kind of addicting. It's intoxicating. It's wrestling. It's wrestling. And I'm going to leave you with John Cena has not yet had a formal invitation to this year's WrestleMania. So I think that'd be interesting. Talk about that. But first and foremost, as always, we get a number of questions from our viewers that come in during the show. So to ensure your questions get answered, but most importantly, to make sure we talk, back and forth. I asked you to, tips, donations. There's a link at the gsmcpodcast.net where you can post your questions. Your questions will be on the top of the list so I can see it. And it also really helps the show, Of course, if you post, positive, tell me what you like, tell me what you don't like, give me your opinions, tell me what you want me to further elaborate on. I'll be more than welcome to, do my best as your wrestling laureate. So again, that link is the gsmcpodcast.net. And so let's go ahead and jump right on into it. My first segment is NXT review. So this was the NXT after Roadblock. It was pretty good. It was pretty good. It was, obviously all these events are leading toward Stand and Deliver, but um, I think a lot of these segments do serve a purpose, and it's gonna be one hell of a pay-per-view coming up. It begins with the tag team match between OTM and the LWO, where when the LWO were making their entrance, OTM attacked them from behind, ultimately kind of gaining the advantage point. But to be honest, I watched the whole match. Well, I watched the whole show, but um, just the LWO throughout the match, they just look oversized and overpowered. But at the end, it looks like their speed, agility, and ability to take high risk maneuvers ultimately got them to win. So now they are, you know, they prevailed, and now the LWO will fight in the triple threat qualifying match to see who will fight um, Braun Breaker and Baron Corbin. So congrats to the LWO. Also, Roxanne Perez has been formally unhinged, saying that she was never really given the opportunity to be great, and every single time she had titles and accolades after accolades, she was basically kind of spat on by the WWE Universe or management, saying her title was taken away, which kind of sucks. So in a sense, I guess she is kind of right, but she's on her way, toward a heel turn, which is um, she checked all the boxes on NXT. She said she didn't receive any credit. That's a huge thing that superstars like to blame the WWE Universe for. Also, that she's constantly busting her ass, carrying the division, carrying the NXT women's brand, which you cannot dispute because she's Roxanne Perez. Like she's she's obviously great. She has talent, and she has a lot of good things coming. For only being like 20. I think she said she was like 22 years old. So that's pretty impressive. 22 years old. I barely learned how to cook an egg. No, I'm just kidding. I'm serious. Um. And the third one that heels love to do in the WWE is just turn to the WWE Universe, and be like, Screw all of you, each and every one of you. Y'all are beneath me. And that's kind of like the classic like heel turn. That's for me when I saw that The Rock basically called I forgot where they were. I think they're in Dallas. I think they're in Dallas and he called them all trailer trash or something like that. And I was like, oh, okay. All right. The Rock is heading toward a major heel turn. So the him and Roman facing each other at WrestleMania is completely off the books. All right, well, moving on. Well, the main reason why we want to talk about Roxanne Perez was because she was trying to enter Valkyrie, the NXT Women's Champion. Like, she was in the tag team match against the Kabuki Warriors and was attacked by Roxanne Perez after they lost the bout. But I don't. I think the NXT Women's. I think the women wrestling period in the NXT brand has actually been pretty impressive. And there's honestly like kind of like an even balance of men and women matches. When in the past WWE, it was mostly men's matches, and the women's matches was kind of like maybe one or two, and took like maybe 2 or 3 minutes tops. So the discrepancy was a little more of it was a little more noticeable. But nowadays, you kind of have to tip your cap to the women's wrestlers for definitely entertaining a crowd and definitely putting women's wrestling on their backs and putting it on the map in pro wrestling. So I think that's super cool. Um, so she was confronted by general manager Ava, and Ava, of course, put her in a match. But Roxanne Perez, she seemed completely unfazed. She seemed like she was ready for the challenge. She seemed like the only way that you can get your women's championship back is if you believe in yourself, put your head down, play by the rules, and just work your ass off like she's been doing her whole entire career. So it'd be no surprise to see her on top of the WWE NXT Women's Division once again. All right, next there was a interesting promo. It was kind of like it was like a studio. It was like a studio film where you had the like kind of like Tony D'Angelo and his Italian family, the Italian like the mobsters. They abducted the NXT um world champion Dragunov. Dragunov. So they threw him in the back of a trunk, which was totally like mob style, like Sopranos kind of thing. So I gotta be honest, it was pretty interesting. The promo kind of ended with him on top of a bridge, kind of basically telling him that you have some type of power, I have some type of power. So basically, don't underestimate me, and I won't underestimate you. And he left them on that bridge, stranded all alone. So he probably had to walk a couple miles. But you know, I thought that was a pretty sick promo. I like the Italian lobsters. That's kind of I wish I knew it like Italian. If I could just consume Italian food like pastas and like wine or something. Well, no, it's not wine because wine's disgusting. But just Italian food to like kind of learn how to be more Italian. I'd be Italian by now. I'd eat. I destroy chicken parmesan on a rag, bro. So I liked how during the promo he was like, "All right, let's go for a ride," and he slaps the back of the trunk, and then the car, kind of, speeds off. So I don't know, I thought that was a pretty sick promo. The WWE actually has been kind of flirting with that kind of studio production for a pretty long time. It's been a while. It's actually been a while. I remember that match between AJ Styles and The Undertaker where it was like Solamente complete like studio production where it kind of looked like a movie where they were fighting at this house and AJ Styles was trying to bury the Undertaker, and much like in every Hollywood flick, you would have the dead man come from behind him, and he'd be and then that's how he'd lose the match, and that's exactly how he did. So I thought that was super cool. But his entrance, the Undertaker's entrance with the motorcycle with Metallica blaring in the background, was pretty sick. Pretty sick. So, tip your hat off to WWE creative writing for that, productions team, special effects, whomever. Um, next, they featured a promo with Ridge Holland FaceTiming his wife and kid, basically wishing him good luck against his match against Shawn Spears. So I think this actually did like a lot for Ridge Holland. I think this just because Ridge Holland lost the match tonight doesn't necessarily, well, last night doesn't necessarily mean that this rivalry is over. Sometimes, well, most of the time in like wrestling history, if you include like someone's family, kind of like the Rey Mysterio, Dominic Mysterio kind of thing, if you include like family members, this feud's gonna be going for a long time. I can imagine a match at Stand and Deliver between the two of like a night quit match or last man standing, so to speak. Ridge Holland really letting out that aggression toward Shawn Spears that Shawn Spears really wants to kind of exploit. And if you actually paid attention to the match that they had, Shawn Spears was kind of egging on Rich Holland, and even when Rich Holland was completely destroying Spears, and I think even Booker T said this beautifully that Spears has Ridge Holland like right where he wants him. So essentially, even if he was getting his ass kicked, he kind of knew that he was gonna use his aggressive, behavior toward him, and he did. And Spears picked up the victory. So that should be interesting to see how they, further, exasperate that in the future. So, I thought that was well done. That was very well done. Next, we have the North American Championship match between Brooke Jensen and I always mess up this guy's name, but we'll just say Femi. Femi. I heard a lot of the announcers refer to this guy as Femi, Nigerian wrestler. Completely destroyed him. He didn't even stand a chance. Like even Jason Briggs came out to try to support his buddy, but to no avail. Like he was absolutely dominated in that match. This North American champion is like way levels above the NXT roster. I'm just interested to see like who they're gonna finally get to face off with against this guy, especially again at Stand and Deliver. A couple names that come to mind. It'd be interesting to kind of see like right now, and I know this is like kind of far fetched, but right now I don't think LA Knight is kind of really doing anything on the main card. Like imagine him coming back and like I challenge you. I want that North American Championship around my waist. Yeah. I don't know. I can just imagine something like that, like him coming back and, dethroning um, the one of the greatest North American champions, at least, in my watching tenure of NXT. So that would be super interesting. We had an Ariana Grace versus a Gigi Dolan match that ended in the disqualification where, um, um, Ariana she got the win, and she was talking to General Manager Ava last week on NXT that if she wins, then she's allowed to make a kind of like a woman out of Gigi Dolan, kind of like because Gigi Dolan comes off as this like total tomboy, total like I'm gonna kick your butt. I'm like I get into bar fights or whatever. Like I don't know, basically any kind of stereotype you kind of have. But so now I guess she has the right to make her into to a lady. So well, that's what I don't know. I think that's a little far fetched, but hey, I'm not the writers. I don't write, but so. Also, Thea Hale was joined by Fallon Henley when people thought because her tag team partner was taken out um, during the entrances, and Fallon kind of helped her out. But the match ultimately ended with Hale losing and kind of losing her mind a little bit, becoming a little bit infringed, saying that she's going to be the new, well, she's going to be the old. Uh, the old the Hale or But yeah, no, it looks like it, this is going to be pretty exciting. They're going to obviously make this grow into like this complete, like, I don't think like Nikki Cross kind of crazy, but like probably like a crazy that it's like a good crazy. A lot of superstars who go through slumps, like they'll change their personality and kind of go on like a roll here, maybe make a title run, or maybe she can like a tag team title run would be sort of ideal. And last but not least, I kind of have Trick Williams coming out at the end of the show, being confronted by the Mega Four, Noam Dar, kind of challenging him, being like, hey, guy, like you came here, you got to get through me first. Like, what are you doing, kid? And then Trick Williams wants nothing to do with them. All he wants is to fight Carmelo Hayes. But he did lay a smooch. He did lay a smooch, and I think her name was Lash, the taller girl. Um, and I thought that props. That's pretty cool. Like it's always cool to like you kind of have that boss card, like to get those smooches, but also kicking ass at the same time. So and I thought that was pretty cool. NXT review. If you like it, you like it. If not, send me a comment. Stick around. Next segment, we're going to be previewing AEW Big Business. So grab a cold drink and a snack and meet me back here. All right.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign.
I wanna be the greatest. Everybody on the fake shit. I look around and feel like everybody is the fakest. I make this every day and I'm impatient, hoping one day I blow up from the basement. Statement, the top is so vacant. I don't hear shit that I think is amazing. Waiting for my day when I'm playing sold out shows for 1,000 faces. Hey, give me that crown, get in my way and to be put down. It ain't your place, all this my town. If I want that shit, then I'll get it right now. I'm losing it, the noose it fits, some losing shit, a stupid myth. You choose to live or choose to dip, you choose to fight or lose your grip and lose a gift.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind?
All right. And we are back. It's your Wrestling Laureate podcast host, your boy E, on the mic. We're getting ready to talk about this AEW Big Business. But first and foremost, we want to go ahead and just once again encourage you guys to hit that tips and donations so to further talk to me about wrestling. I take criticism pretty well. I take compliments even better. Tell me what you like, tell me what you don't like, tell me your opinions. I'm here to entertain you guys. I love my peeps, but go ahead and you can hit the tips and donations. You can tip and donate at gsmcpodcast.net. And once again, that is gsmcpodcast.net. So let's go ahead and move on here to the AEW Big Business. So it's it's a AEW Wednesday Dynamite segment, but sometimes these weekly shows have certain promos, certain like events, which is kind of cool. It's kind of like a mini pay-per-view, but it's for free. You don't have to pay like $60 or $50, or you don't have to pay like a $19.99 subscription fee every month. So, usually there's, title defenses, big storyline changes, and I don't know. I think that how they're doing it is pretty sick. So at the Tea Garden, it's at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 7 p.m. Central, live on TBS as well as AEW Plus. So make sure you stay tuned, or you can watch that. So first and foremost, there's a trios battle between the Elite and newly acquired star Kaz Okada. against the Continental Crown champ, Eddie Kingston, and the Death Triangle. Um, First and foremost, before I say anything about this match, I really, really like how AEW and Ring of Honor kind of have that like trios, like tag team titles. I think it's something that WWE should definitely kind of adopt from that because I don't know, usually you have to wait till Survivor Series to have that traditional 5-on-5 match or like a main event. Well, at least during the Attitude Era, that usually had like Stone Cold Steve Austin teaming with like a group of guys against Triple H, DX, or whatever. Um, but 3-on-3 matches they're pretty exciting. It's like more unpredictable. And like I've said before on podcasts, that I really, really like tag team matches because you can kind of see the chemistry between the superstars. I imagine seeing chemistry between three superstars. Complete action, complete like, oh, it'd be like annihilation of the brain wrestling wise. I don't know. I think that would be super, super cool that they implement like a trios like title kind of thing. But that's just me. So the Rainmaker made his debut last week, where Eddie Kingston came out to confront the EVPs. I think they call them the EVPs because they recently suspended Paige and they fired Kenny Omega. I don't know how long that's gonna stick, but we shall see. So Okada came out and Kingston thought he was gonna be backup. Turns out he was part of the ploy all along, which is classic wrestling. I thought the promo was pretty sick. But Pac returns. He hasn't been in the ring since June 26th. Pac, from who I know him as the King of the Cruiserweights, Neville. But I remember watching him. He was very, very good. He's a phenomenal superstar. He has high flying abilities. He's kind of like Seth Rollins meets Ricochet. Like if they had like a wrestling baby together, it would be Pac. Pac is this guy's like a complete like total badass. It's a damn shame he didn't really prosper in WWE, but hey, then again he was like like a cruiserweight. But maybe he would come back. Maybe he'd come back. But if not, he's still in the wrestling world. He's still kicking ass. AEW is a very, 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 very popular rising phenomenon that's probably going to be as popular or even more popular as the WWE as time progresses. But hey, time will tell. So the next match we have Switchblade against Darby Allin. Darby Allin has recently he was tag team champions with the Icon Sting, but as soon as Sting retired, he kind of had to relinquish those tag team titles. That's the reason why they had this huge tag team tournament going on, which is completely awesome because it's going to feature like a lot of like tag teams like Private Party, the Undisputed Kingdom, and I don't know. I just think that uh, if you, as a brand, as a wrestling brand, can kind of like highlight tag titles and kind of make them a little more prestigious than like in WWE, like kind of like the Intercontinental Championship. I don't know, I kind of think you're doing your job as a company because people pay attention to that stuff. People like watching the tag team titles defended. And WWE doesn't do that a lot. Sometimes they'll skip maybe one or two pay-per-views of where the titles aren't even defended, where in reality I feel like every title should be defended at every pay-per-view. Since you're making them wait a month, not like AEW who does a special promo like every 2 weeks. So once again, completely my opinion. You can hate it, love it, comment, tip, donate, GSMCpodcast.net. Tell me how you feel. Um, so, so with that, we have Willow Nightingale versus Riho. Riho is, she kind of took me by surprise. She comes off as this, like, kind of like recluse, like kind of like this baby face sweetheart, but don't underestimate her. She'll kick your butt, man. She recently won a pretty impressive match against Chris Statlander. Chris Statlander, she's this complete like a complete wrestler. Like as a woman wrestler, like this girl comes off as like a Ronda Rousey kind of type, and Riho was able to take her down. And Chris Statlander is, you know, she has a former TBS champion, so you can't discredit or can't say Riho got lucky or that, must have been a fluke because she has the skills to pay the bills. So I'm looking forward to seeing that match as well. Next match I got is Chris Jericho and FTW champ Hook against the Gates of Agony. So on last episode of AEW Dynamite, Hook, as soon as he won the match against Christian Gage, I think, um, he he got attacked by these guys, and Chris Jericho ultimately had to come out and protect the man. He has recently gained his respect because I think Hook is a descendant of the broadcaster Taz, and Chris Jericho obviously has a lot of history with Taz through WCW, ECW, where Taz was like the suplex machine. His son Hook is kind of, he's the second generation superstar, and he's doing pretty good. He's defending the FTW World Championship pretty well. And if you watch that match where he defended it against Cage, it was actually pretty darn entertaining. It kind of reminded me a lot of the Attitude Era. I feel like AEW is kind of like the WCW back in the day where they are PG-13 because I know a lot of WWE now is like PG or maybe even G because they have like kids, pay attention and kids like wrestling and stuff like that. AEW, if you look in a crowd, from what I've noticed, or maybe like that day no kids showed up, but I didn't really see any kids. I saw mostly adults, so they were kind of pandering to the adults. There was more cussing, there was more blood. He laid tacks out, and, like they don't do that anymore. Like where they just like pour out the tacks and just like suplex, and like he just comes up and just like blood everywhere. You have the tacks pointing out, and like you don't see that a lot in WWE. Like they want to protect their superstars, which isn't bad necessarily, but for the entertainment factor, but that's just me as being a selfish wrestling fan who wants to see more blood. But I thought it was pretty cool. And to kind of cap this thing off is Samoa Joe versus Warlord. Um, they used to be tag partners. They were actually dubbed the War Joe, which is kind of, an interesting name, but hey, I'll bite. Um, so Samoa Joe won the TNT Championship from Warlord in in a triple threat match. So these people have like a lot of like animosity, a lot of unfinished business, and probably a lot of like hidden aggression toward each other, which will transparent and kind of reflect in the ring, which we all, kind of hope to watch in big business. I hope big business promotes big business. But Adam last week on AEW, Adam Cole and the Undisputed Kingdom came out basically kind of stating how Swerve he had his chance at the title, he failed. But Samoa Joe obviously has a huge target on his back, mostly because the Undisputed Kingdom is powerful. Obviously, you have power in numbers, but Samoa Joe has kind of represented his brand of like kind of like the lone wolf, like I walk alone. I'm a complete like badass kind of thing. But the Undisputed Kingdom did a lot for Samoa Joe, and Samoa Joe didn't really realize it. They attacked MJF, and according to Adam Cole, kind of weakened him so Joe could get his hands on the NXT Championship. But of course, Samoa Joe would probably think otherwise. So it's kind of interesting to see if the Undisputed Kingdom will kind of stick their nose in there, in Joe's business, or is Joe kind of like the champion of the future, because I don't really see Lord as like a champion, so to speak, because you have Roderick Strong, he's a champion. And then Undisputed Kingdom features the Ring of Honor tag team champs, which once again I kind of want to credit AEW for that. How you kind of have Ring of Honor, New Japan Wrestling, AEW, all kind of like come together as one conglomerate. Like as a wrestling fan, I think that would, that'd be pretty badass. But I don't want to get too much onto that. But I don't know. I think that's pretty cool. But the final thing that I want to mention is Mercedes Moné is set to make her debut on AEW Big Business. And this is a big deal because Mercedes Moné, which aka Sasha Banks, she's huge. She has a huge brand name. She brings a lot of like wrestling to the table. And like I WWE Women's Division when Sasha left, and I think at the same time Naomi left as well. Like you can tell, like that division was kind of hurting. You could tell that they were looking for someone to kind of take the place of Sasha Banks, and it was hard. It was hard to kind of fill those shoes. Like I know, like competitors like Bianca Belair had to step up. I think Liv Morgan even tried stepping up, and I think even Shayna Baszler was one of the names that we brought up. But speaking of, I think Bailey and Naomi are actually at that event right now, supporting their friend Sasha Banks. So I'm hoping Mercedes Moné the best in terms of the future, because hey, she's one hell of a wrestler to be honest. So hey, nothing but the best of luck. All right, don't go anywhere. We have our new segment based on Jim Ross. Jim Ross, in a recent interview, has been kind of flirting with retirement. I hope it doesn't happen, but I don't know. Let's take a further and in-depth look at that. So I'll see you in a jiff.
For the best and latest podcasts available anywhere, go to the podcast app on your cell phone and type in GSMC to access free content-rich podcasts on health and wellness, book reviews, sports, entertainment, relationships, social media, movies, technology, finance, and even weird news. Subscribe and download the GSMC Podcast Network's family of shows, available everywhere podcasts are found.
All right, and welcome back to the GSMC Wrestling Laureate Podcast with your boy E here on the mic. So we recently touched base on AEW a preview and how Sasha Banks or Mercedes Moné will make an impact for the wrestling brand. But let's go ahead and talk about the good old JR, good old JR. So Jim Ross believes that this will be his final year at the commentary desk. Jim Ross is unfortunately, and I hate to admit it, well, I don't hate to admit it, but he is he's at his end commentary, and it's just so sad. It's just so sad because his voice like brings wrestling to life. Like the moment you would turn on that pay-per-view and you would hear Jim Ross or Jerry the King Lawler, and I don't know, you just know that this pay-per-view is gonna kick total ass. Like it all, with sports. Well, okay, let me just put this in perspective. Have you ever gone to a sports event live, like baseball, football, basketball, WWE? There's no commentary. There's no people telling you, giving you the play-by-play. And to be honest, that's like I love going to like live stuff, but to be honest, sometimes I prefer to sit on the couch and listen to these very iconic voices tell me, what's going on and kind of like paint a picture. Like, for example, I went to a wrestling event. I've been to a bunch of wrestling events, and just like seeing the matches go on, you would just hear the slamming of the mat. Boom, boom. And of course, you would hear the announcer at the beginning, like, weighing in at 6'4", and then, but during the match, it's just so quiet. It's just so quiet. Like, I need Michael Cole, or like, I need, Jim Ross, like, just, I don't know. Well, that could be me. It's all, preferences here, of course. But Jim Ross is, if he retires, he's going to definitely be missed. He's a WWE Hall of Famer. Ross expressed his excitement for he signed another year with AEW, but just 1 year. And he ultimately said, and he told the listeners that at 72 years old, it all depends on his emotional well-being, his psychological well-being, his physical state, his health, and basically what Tony Khan wants to do. Like at the moment, Jim Ross is only doing pay-per-view, so that's like maybe like once a month, which is, ideal. I think someone at that age could definitely do that, but hey, I'm not Jim Ross, and maybe I'm just wishful thinking. Don't retire. Sorry. Sorry about that. Um, so I don't know. You can just like you can see his passion just being powered through the screen. Like, for example, imagine watching. Well, now it kind of sucks because Joe Buck is signed with ESPN. But before then, imagine watching the World Series and not hearing Joe Buck's voice on the television. Like, it's a little weird. It's a little weird because Joe Buck, he as a commentator, like brings it to life. He brings the baseball game into your living room. He sucks you in as an audience and he makes you care. And like even Al Michaels on the NBC broadcast of Sunday Night Football. As soon as Mike Tirico took over, I got to be honest. No disrespect to Mike Tirico, but I got to be honest. Like I was not like at first. Like I would never, ever, 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 ever want to miss a Sunday night, football game. But when Mike Tirico was there and I missed a couple of games, I was like, eh, eh. It was, it's all right. It was just that when Al Michaels left, like it, kind of sucked. And then he went to Amazon to join Kirk Herbstreit, which they did a lot of, they did like a lot of, broadcasts, but it just wasn't the same. It just wasn't the same. You can tell in Al Michaels' voice, his energy and stuff like that. Well, given that it seemed like Thursday Night Football produced a lot of games that were kind of like on the snooze side, so you can't really blame Al Michaels for not getting too excited. But I don't know. I just think comments. What the main point is, commentary makes a difference. Commentary makes a difference. It's the person's, passion that gets projected through audio, thus exciting the crowd, and I don't know, making them a part of the experience instead of just watching them. I think that's pretty super cool. Um, a couple of memorable moments that I looked online that he kind of remembered the most was, of course, that Undertaker Mankind Hell in a Cell where he threw him off of the top, which was pretty darn crazy. I think he even said that Mankind is dead, and it's just of that very like he just has iconic like slogans that is just I don't know. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. Definitely. Also the Rock and Stone Cold matches during WrestleMania that he, thought was pretty awesome. Ric Flair versus the Ricky Steamboat. Also, his iconic voice where Tyson and Austin were duking it out. You're the Tyson and Austin, Tyson and Austin, Tyson and Austin. It's just something that just radiates through wrestlers. Like, I remember watching that. I remember renting the video at Gary's Video down the street and watching that, and it's still something. I can still hear Jim Ross, kind of talk about that kind of stuff. And also, like, keeping on the Stone Cold, you've had Stone Cold, Stone Cold, Stone Cold, and he was just like it was like overbearing at times, but at the same time, oh, it was so awesome. Like it was so cool. As a wrestling, I don't know. I'm a wrestling dork. I don't know if you guys feel this strong about Jim Ross, but Jim Ross is when he left WWE, it kind of saddened me. But that's something as well. I remember when he was when Stone Cold Steve Austin and Vince McMahon were kind of like feuding. They were always feuding. Absolutely. I remember him saying Stone Cold is shaking hands with Satan himself. Satan himself. Like it just really brought it in your perspective that you're like, oh my God. Is Vince McMahon the devil? No, I'm just kidding. But like he just made it seem like he painted the picture. He painted the picture for you to kind of depict these storylines, and someone that could do that, like very inspirational talking, because obviously amazing. He was amazing at his job. Another one was Milkomania or Running Wild when Kurt Angle showed up in a milk truck and he completely just sprayed Triple H and Stephanie McMahon and Vince McMahon. Like he just, I don't know, like he went like, and it's just that Milkomania running wild. And he just knew what to say at the right time to kind of make it an iconic moment. Not a lot of wrestlers, not a lot of wrestling commenters can do that. Like Michael Cole, he's definitely one of the best right now. He's doing very, very, very good. Corey Graves is cool. Um, I don't think he's that great. I actually really do like the addition of Pat McAfee. I think him and Michael Cole together are like, pretty dynamite. But I don't know. I I looked online and his favorite match of all time was a match that I remember watching when I was a kid. Was the triple threat match between tag team match titles between Edge and Christian, the Hardy Boys, Jeff Hardy and Matt Hardy, and the Dudley Boys, Devon and Bubba Ray. I remember watching that match, and that match was very, very. It was just something that lives in your brain forever, and it just lives in your head rent free. Like Jeff Hardy doing a swanton bomb from top of a 20-foot ladder, tables, ladders, and chairs. Kind of the birth of TLC and the kind of how the pay per view kind of like come to light, so to speak. And it made their careers. It made their careers. Jeff, Matt, Edge, Christian, Bubba, Devon. And after that, like, I felt like, I don't know, that match was very iconic. And just to have someone like Jim Ross there would just make it 1,000 times better. So, despite on the mic about big time moments in wrestling, you also have to remember that he did actually compete in a couple matches. He tapped out Michael Cole in a tag team match with John Cena at in Mexico City. So I thought that was pretty cool. He fought the coach one on one. He also fought Michael Cole one on one. He fought Eric Bischoff one on one. He teamed up with Jerry the King Lawler on multiple occasions. That was, I think they won every match, but that was pretty badass. He also teamed up with Stone Cold against Triple H in China when they were having their little feud. Good old Jim Ross was there to back up Stone Cold Steve Austin. You can always count on the good Oklahoma barbecue, Oklahoma Sooners all the way, baby. Um, also, Jim Ross has like a lot of accolades that a lot of people probably don't know. Like people probably see him and he's like definitely one of the best wrestling commenters of all time. But this guy was actually a pretty impressive athlete. So he started for Mid South Wrestling, and that eventually became National Wrestling Alliance, the NWA. And then he went to WWF, WWE, and he was the voice of the Attitude Era. Like when you think of the Attitude Era, you automatically think of Jim Ross. Maybe that's like a good like foreshadow of why I really love Jim Ross, because I'm a huge Attitude Era kind of guy. I grew up during the Attitude and was a huge fan of that. So when you think about DX doing their shenanigans, or The Rock coming up, Mankind, The Undertaker, Shawn Michaels, Triple H, and the list goes on and on and on and on, you think of Jim Ross automatically. Automatically, you think of Jim Ross just commentating during those matches, making every moment iconic as possible. Um, so he's also known for his barbecue sauce, and I think he makes beef jerky. And actually, he hosts a weekly podcast called Grilling JR. That I don't know. I kind of want to check it out. Anything that includes JR, I'm fine with that. So Ross was actually president of the student body, a four letterman in basketball while attending the Westville High School. So that was pretty cool. Like I said before, this guy's an athlete. Like he's multiply gifted. You got to give it up to good old JR. He was a two-time All-Conference football player for the Westville Yellow Jackets. Also, he was an FFA, the Future Farmers of America, national speech champ in 1969, runner-up in 1968. For 18 years, Ross actually officiated high school and college baseball, football, and basketball games in Oklahoma. He was his very first championship match call was Ric Flair and Ted DiBiase, the Million Dollar Man. Ross joined Jim Crockett Promotions and eventually merged with Universal Wrestling Federation, the UWF. And he began doing commentary with Davy Crockett and Tony Schiavone, the guy from AEW. So it's kind of cool how he eventually came back with his old running mate, and now they're doing AEW and they're doing a magnificent job. So JCP became WCW. WCW left the NWA, and Ross worked his way up through the WCW ladder. Eric Bischoff actually disliked Ross, so Ross resigned, and he was hired by the WWF/WWE in 1993. He was in the independent wrestling circuit, like New Japan Wrestling, and from 2016 to 2019. And he hit AEW 2019, and the rest is history for good old JR. So you got to respect that guy. Like I said, I am just a huge fan of this guy. Nothing in wrestling says wrestling more than good old JR. So I don't know. I feel lucky to have had that opportunity to kind of like just listen to this guy who cared, like he cared about wrestling like you cared about wrestling. Like, and wrestling fans are big dorks. Like, still to this day, I walk around doing the DX crotch, I go around saying slogans like, acknowledge me. Like, at work, people may think I'm annoying, and also the WWE theme songs that get stuck in your head, like Cody Rhodes is, what? It's pretty cool. Are you ready? Like you hear these icons. If you smell, I can't stop. I can't stop. When I start going, I definitely can't stop as a wrestling fan. And I think good old JR was one of the biggest wrestling fans in the world, and he did such a great job at making the wrestling audience, their WWE universe, feel like they were just sitting right there between him and Jerry Lawler. All right, so don't go anywhere. Our fourth and final segment is going to be about how John Cena has not received an invitation to be part of WrestleMania 40. So, hey, stick around. All right, all right, all right. We're going to go ahead and segue into why John Cena has not received an invitation. We recently spoke about our NXT review, also AEW Big Business preview, and also why Jim Ross is like the best commentator in WWE, or I'm going to go ahead and say combat sports history, because that guy was incredible. He was amazing. But before we do anything, I want to go ahead and just remind the viewers that we'll get a nice little long look at Jim Ross one last time. Well, let's go ahead and talk about tipping and donations. I'm still, we still love to hear our fans. We still love to make you a part of the podcast. Me, I love talking to people. So like I said before, tell me what you like, give me your opinions, tell me I suck. No, I'm just kidding. Keep it positive. Keep it positive. We love, peace, love, and rock and roll, baby. Peace, love, and positivity. And remember, you can do that only on the GSMCpodcast.net, where you can find the tips and donations, where your questions will pop up in the chat and they will pop up first so I can see them, so we can talk some wrestling, good old fashioned wrestling. Once again, that's the GSMCpodcast.net, where you can, find the tips and donations. All right. So let's go ahead and move on to our last segment. John Cena feeling a little left out because he was not invited to WrestleMania 40 so far, which kind of sucks because John Cena is WrestleMania. He was asked by Drew Barry on the Drew Barrymore show that like, why are you going to be a part of WrestleMania? And he basically said, like, no, like, no one hit me up. No one said anything, which kind of sucks for the amazing, tenure that John Cena has. But I don't know. I think it's time that WWE needs to call this guy. Like, John Cena, although he might be a little older, that he just pleases so many people. The moment you hear his music, that so like you get excited. Like, I know I get excited, and I was one of the biggest Cena haters ever. The biggest. I remember like whenever he would beat like Triple H and Shawn Michaels, I'd be like, oh, of course, this guy, getting what he wants, you know, stroking Vince McMahon's ego, but I don't know. I don't think it's a WrestleMania without John Cena. Even if it's like just like a quirky match or like a quirky promo. Or one year he actually came back as the Dr. Thugonomics, which I thought was pretty cool. He came out and he started rapping against I think Elias was out there. Elias or Ezekiel, one of those guys. That's a joke. But I don't know. He has had 15 WrestleMania matches and he's 10-5. 10-5, pretty impressive. The 5 superstars who had defeated Cena at WrestleMania was Austin Theory, Austin Theory. The Miz, because he's awesome. Randy Orton, The Rock, and The Undertaker. So John Cena, 10-5 at WrestleMania, 50%, not bad. Nothing, of course, compared to The Undertaker's record, which is immaculate. I don't think anybody would ever, top that. So one of the matches that I think were kind of underrated, but it was under the list of forgetful John Cena matches during WrestleMania, was the Firefly Funhouse match between Bray Wyatt. I liked that. I really, really did like that. And that was like what we were talking about before earlier in the podcast, that in WWE during promos or matches are starting to add like Hollywood studio value to it. I thought that was a very, very, very good match between John Cena and Bray Wyatt, where you kind of had John Cena kind of stuck in his own head. And I think even during the match and during the end of the match, John Cena was like stuck looking in the mirror. And then Bray Wyatt's voice was like, the only person standing in your way is yourself. And it was kind of like a foreshadow of how John Cena used to allegedly like bury young talent when he was like the top tippity dog during wrestling. A little later than the Ruthless Aggression era, that's the reason why CM Punk kind of had that pipe bomb, basically saying that John Cena is like, the prized like pig, like he was chosen, and he does everything in his power to bury young talent so nobody takes over as the company head. But of course, that's all water under the bridge now. CM Punk is back. And there was a lot of speculation that that's the reason why John Cena, was the way he was. Like, he's obviously the best. He's a great in-ring performer. His mic skills is just very, 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 very good. Um, and I don't know. I feel like that Firefly Funhouse match was kind of like if you pay attention to that match, go ahead and rewatch it. Go ahead and rewatch it. And some of the stuff they say is like very, very foreshadowing. So I thought that was actually pretty cool. So he said on the Drew Barrymore show that he has not yet received an invite, but who needs an invite if you're John Cena? Dude, you're like one of the best wrestlers of all time. You know, you're amazing in and out of the ring. He's a great movie star. He's a great man. He does a lot of charity work. Um, the last match he had was against Solo Sikoa at Crown Jewel in 2023. So I think, to be honest, I think he needs to come back. If that's the way John Cena's gonna go out losing against Solo Sikoa, that you need to come back, dude. Like you need to come back and attitude adjustment somebody, or the STFU, one of those things. But when I think about John Cena, I can't help but to think about Roman Reigns. How you kind of have these steps to with every great era of wrestling, guy. There's one guy. Like just think about kind of coming up within the ranks. Like I said, like before the 1990s, I'm not really that wrestling savvy. Like I know you had Ric Flair, Hulk Hogan, and there's probably some gray areas there that I'm not like really understanding or not really acknowledging. And I apologize for that for whoever's in the, whoever like knows like 80s wrestling or like 70s wrestling. You're like, hey, this guy doesn't know what you're talking about. But I'm just based on my perspective. My perspective. Um, Stone Cold Steve Austin. No, I think before Stone Cold it was Shawn. Shawn Michaels. He really did handle a lot of the weight in terms of like the Monday Night War between Raw and WCW. So Shawn, Stone Cold, they were trying to make The Rock into something, but a lot of people were like more into the heel. So you had The Rock / Triple H, and then you had Triple H, and then Triple H eventually gave off that steam to John Cena, and then John Cena was looking to hand the torch over to none other than your Universal Champion, the Tribal Chief himself, Roman Reigns. And I watched this live too. I remember watching August 13th, 2017. It was a promo where John Cena came back and Roman Reigns confronted him in the ring, where Roman basically said, "Why are you even here, John? We don't need you. We don't want you here." And John Cena simply, like, he looked Roman Reigns dead in his face and he said, "It's because you can't do your job." And at the time, he was right. Roman Reigns couldn't cut at least a decent promo. Obviously, things have changed now, but I just think that it's kind of funny how, I don't know, like you look back on it now, and I think there has been multiple articles, multiple interviews with Roman where he confirmed it. John, like, he lit a fire under his ass that very moment, and not embarrassed him, so to speak, but kind of like it was like a slap of reality. Be like, hey, they're trying to give you this torch. Take it or it's going to go away. And Roman, obviously, he's doing very good. They cut out that babyface bullcrap, which was very good for Roman's career, I feel like, because the moment you felt like Roman Reigns was winning everything and Vince McMahon was like forcing him down your throat to like love and like, I don't know, I kind of feel like that's the reason why Roman Reigns was just totally, I don't know. It's the reason why people didn't like him. It's the reason why people like felt forced to root for this guy. And so that created a lot of turmoil within Roman Reigns, a lot of like development of his character, where he was the Universal Champion, but he had to relinquish it because he was battling leukemia. And then he came back to ultimately like start a feud with The Fiend. And that's when he kind of came. I think that was SummerSlam. I think that might have been SummerSlam. And he speared The Fiend and he just beat the total hell out of him. He beat him out cold. And a lot of people weren't used to seeing Bray Wyatt in the Fiend character kind of manhandle like that. And he had the shirt that said, wreck everyone. And ever since then, he's been the best heel. Roman Reigns has been, you know, killing it now. And I think that all kind of segues off of what John Cena said during that promo. Um, so John Cena is absolutely one of the most memorable superstars, WWE superstars of all time. And no one can take that away from him. You either like him or you love him. I don't, you know, I don't think there's any gray areas that people who like John Cena or who dislike John Cena. But hey, you are entitled to your own opinion. And if you want to share it with me, tips and donations, the GSMCpodcast.net, we'll take it. You know what I mean? So that's it. That's all I got for you guys today. Hopefully you enjoyed the show. Thank you for tuning into the GSMC Wrestling Laureate Podcast, presented to you by the GSMC Sports Podcasting Network. Your support means a lot to us, so remember to subscribe to the show and leave us a positive review. Like I said, peace, love, and positivity. It really does make a difference. So make sure you do your best Roman Reigns impersonation and go ahead and Superman punch that like and subscribe button. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram for more content and updates. So also remember to check out some of the other shows that the podcast network produces. We have baseball, basketball. We have my man Nelson on basketball. We have my boy TJ on sports, and we have my man Kenneth on football. So go ahead and give it a chance, give it a shot. Who knows? You might like it. So, once again, to my peeps, continue to keep killing it, watching wrestling, and I will see you in another episode.
Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day. Yeah, I'm tired of shit, and the coffee ain't hit yet, damn, ain't that great. I don't wanna go to